Hello and welcome back to the 107 podcast with myself, Ash, and my co-host, Jacob. I have one thing to say. 5-second penalty for Ocon.
Yeah, deserved. Absolutely deserved.
Make it 10 seconds.
Easily. It was 50-50, but I think lean towards 10 seconds, let's be honest. Yeah. Welcome back. We had a bit of a break, and now I feel like I need a break again.
We do. They had 4 weeks worth of controversy in one race.
They were like, we've been missing some headlines for a little bit. Shall we really kick it up a notch?
We didn't give them anything to talk about, so let's...
So US Grand Prix. Shall we get the good out of the way before we talk about the bad and then the ugly? A huge congrats to your... Is it your favourite driver, Charles Leclerc, or is it Fernando Alonso? Because you've been wearing...
It'll always be Alonso. It'll always be Alonso.
Yeah.
Chuck's my boy.
Chuck is your boy. Chuck Leclerc is an icon. And I think, honestly, it was really nice to see him win again after such a long time. I say such a long time. It's not been that long, but, it's been...
He has the same amount of wins as Lando, doesn't he?
No, I think Charles has more.
No, this season.
Oh, this season, I think so, yes.
Because Chuck was Monaco.
You keep saying Chuck, and it's throwing me every single time.
Monaco, because it was where he was called Chuck.
Yeah. He won in Monaco and...
Monza and now Austin.
Monza and Austin, and Lando has won in Singapore, the Netherlands, and...
Miami,
yep.
Cool. Ferrari were on it. Didn't have the quali pace, so they didn't really do that well. As well as they could have in the sprint. Definitely set up for the race. And then, once Charles got first, he just controlled the race from start to finish. Big up on Carlos. Seemed to have a little bit of an issue at the start of the race. You could smell fuel in the car, which is very worrying. But they got on top of that. He made his moves, and it was a Ferrari 1-2. So, fair play to them. It definitely seems like a season where like certain cars just suit certain tracks. But I think we'll see McLaren go back to being the car to beat over the next few races.
Yeah, I think you have to remember last year, Lando came from like 18th to like 4th or something last year in Mexico as well. So like maybe he just is really good at that track. I don't know. So there's definitely hope there in terms of McLaren having pace again. And I think there's still a lot of hope for Ferrari being at the front as well again. So maybe not so much Mercedes. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see. Or
I think George did really well considering where he started and where he finished.
Yeah.
I mean, he pretty much got what was expected of him outside 2 McLarens and 2 Ferraris. Sorry, well, it would have been 2 McLaren, 2 Ferraris, but Max was in there, and we can talk about Max and Lando.
We can, yeah.
But I think it was also very tyre specific because the McLarens weren't good on the mediums, but when they put the hards on, they definitely had a lot more pace, as evidenced. But with Lando and Oscar not doing as well as we've seen the McLaren do, I think it's just circuit specific.
They also did bring a lot of upgrades, so I think that maybe this is the first time a big set of upgrades hasn't taken that big leap forward. So maybe there's some dialing in to do. Maybe some things don't quite work as well as they wanted them to. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not maybe they abandon this last set of upgrades and go back to what it was in Singapore. You don't know. It's going to be interesting, but I think we shouldn't get too far ahead of ourselves. I think we should talk about the sprint race first, rather than talking about race proper. Just super quick, sprint race, what do we think? Because it's been a while since we've actually had a sprint as well. We obviously had Max winning, Carlos second, and Lando third. Just general thoughts of the sprint. Anything in particular that popped out to you?
Haas is doing well.
Yeah.
Double Lawson and Fernando having
that
issues.
Was odd.
But it wasn't really much of a sprint. I think just good on Max for putting it on pole, and I think he always sort of got pole for the race because a lot was said about the car. What's going to happen, and Max does what Max does. So fair play to him for putting it on pole.
Yeah, I think it's also like really important to note that very clearly that Red Bull just isn't there with pace at the moment still, because if you look at where Perez is, he's nowhere near the pace.
Yeah, but Perez has been off the pace for a while.
Yeah.
And I can, if like Max is in midfield fighting, I can understand Perez being there. But Max is getting podiums, he's putting it on pole. Even if you're not Max's level, you should be at least top 4, top 5.
Yeah, but this is Perez. But I just think that, the car just very clearly, like, Max is extracting everything he possibly can out of that car. It's more of a compliment to him than anything else. I think that if obviously Perez isn't extracting everything out of that car, and I think that there are some drivers who they can extract everything out of a car and they can gain as much confidence as they need, and there are some drivers who need 100% confidence in the car, and vice versa. So I think that he's just of the former, and he's just absolutely ridiculously driving the wheels off of that Red Bull at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, how long will Red Bull put up for it?
Yeah,
I know he's got sponsor money, but sponsor money would only get you so far.
True, very true. And with the exodus they've had within the team, you can see some potential rumblings happening. That's for sure. But yeah, I just thought we'd very quickly just cover the sprint race, just in case there was anything really. I think the one big shock for me was Oscar Piastri qualifying P18, because obviously he had his lap time deleted in sprint quali. But I mean, other than that, I mean, there was nothing outrageous, and it wasn't boring, but it didn't set the world alight. I think it's okay.
I think they need to have sprint-specific tyres.
Yeah.
Tyres that last like 10 or 12 laps. Serious?
Yeah.
Do you know what tyres they should give them? The ones that they gave to the podium.
Oh, God, yeah.
Give them those tyres.
The teeny tiny ones, yeah. I see a plank wear now. Okay, so we've talked about sprint. I think during quali, I think the only big outlier was obviously Lewis, really. Who qualified P19, who then started... Did he start from pit lane in the end?
No, George did.
George started from pit lane, that was it. But yeah, Lewis had an absolute howler. Really, really not good at all.
He's not had a good weekend.
No, he really struggled all weekend, which is not normal.
Not at COTA,
No, considering he has won, 5 times at COTA before... It just doesn't.
I don't think apart from the whole plank controversy last year, I don't think he's ever not finished a race.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a very, very odd situation for him. So yeah. But then in terms of the rest of qualifying, I was pleasantly surprised to see Gasly P7. That was quite a nice thing to see. So clearly, if you paint your car orange, that seems to help.
Definitely.
Can we talk about that real quick? What on earth? Like. It's like asking your parents for McDonald's on the way home. No, we have McDonald's at home. It's like that, but with the McLaren. Oh, we want the McLaren. We have a McLaren at home. The McLaren at home. But I mean, hey, they seem to do okay with it in race proper as well. They didn't do too badly anyway. Yes, they didn't score points, but I mean, they were definitely quicker than I was expecting.
I mean, it's a positive showing, right?
Exactly.
I mean, Fernando did all right getting it into P7, considering how he did that, crazy. But they're showing progress, while Aston Martin are
falling behind, which
even
is really,
Haas
really
are
bad.
showing progress. Even RB are showing progress. So I think, Fernando, Lance and Lawrence just can't wait for this season to be over and just get some of that new magic on the car. I know you can't start work until like next year, but I'm sure there are ways around it that they figured out.
Probably, yeah. But I think, obviously Newey's biggest concern is going to be the 26 car, really, though, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But I think, 25 gives them a good base to just work from, understand the team, understand everything. But also, it's also scary that Aston Martin bring upgrades and they just don't work.
They just don't seem to work. Yeah,
don't work. That's
odd. Are they using their own wind tunnel yet?
I don't think so,
because they're still using the Mercedes wind tunnel, aren't they? So maybe that's something where they might not have.
Yeah, I know they got their own wind tunnel
being built. Yeah. I mean, it reminds. So did you see? So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, we'll talk about it like a little bit more in depth after. But because of Toyota coming in and helping Haas now have the money to build their first ever simulator.
No.
So Haas have never had a simulator.
They must have been doing some.
They might have borrowed Ferraris, but they've just never had a simulator. I'm just telling you.
Wow, man. They really are run on a shoestring.
Literally, yeah. Like, I remember seeing something years ago about Mazepin borrowing somebody's simulator, like literally like a $30,000 rig type thing. But I remember listening to Jensen Button's audiobook a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying how McLaren spent like £30 million or dollars or something on their simulator, and it was like at the time, like when he was driving for them, like top of the line. So it's probably still pretty decent now, but like comparing that to either no simulator or borrowing a friend's, that's
do you reckon it was like K-Mag and a play seat in Formula 1 2023? Like a steering wheel.
Honestly, yeah, with a cheeky little, like our setup.
And like a curved monitor. And like just chat.
There you go, Kev. It was Max's streaming setup. That's what they had. That's what Haas have had.
They just like knock on Max's door in Monaco. It's like, yeah, can we borrow it for an hour?
Jesus. But yeah, no, so going into race proper, one stand-up performance I had before we get into bits and pieces proper is Liam Lawson, P9.
I have two, Liam and Franco.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk Liam first, and then we'll talk Franco. But yeah, P9 on your debut from with a 60-place grid penalty, like starting from P18, was it? P19, something like that?
Yeah.
Smashed it. Absolutely smashed it with a car that we know is not particularly great.
Yeah, he's a little bit like Max. He's just uber aggressive, kind of like, I don't care who you are.
Yeah, and the fighting all weekend with Alonso was gold. Like, so good. I love it when rookies fight. It's really, really fun to see. But yeah, and then you wanted to talk about Colapinto.
Yeah, he's just done it race after race after race. Showing up Alex. Do you know who Colapinto reminds me of?
Go on.
Cole Palmer.
Right. Why is that?
Because Cole Palmer, because Colapinto, outside of Formula 1, just does not give a fuck. He just does not care. He's just like, yeah, I'll say this, I'll do this, doesn't really matter. And Cole Palmer's the same. It's like, yeah, I just, whatever kind of thing. But get him in a car or get them in their respective fields and they show you why they're there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I think Colapinto, has actually caused James Vowles to reevaluate the whole driver lineup situation.
I think so, yeah. Or if anything, if I'm Audi.
Yeah, if I'm Audi, I'm looking at Colapinto and going, you're not bad, That's actually it's pretty good. But then again, I think if you've got Colapinto or Bottas, I think I take Bottas personally.
I'd go younger and go Colapinto. You got experience in Hulkenberg.
True. But yeah. I think two old experienced heads for a couple of years would also be pretty valuable. I don't know. It would be good to have both. But
I think also socially he's hilarious.
Yeah, he's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Did you see the one? Him and Alex are talking about their screen time on their phones. And I think Alex had 12 hours or 14
something
hours
like that. Yeah,
and it was because he'd watched a few movies on the plane.
Yeah, and
Franco's just looking at him, it's like, what the fuck are you doing on your phone for that? I think his highest was 3 hours.
Oh god! But I really like Colapinto.
I like him. He's good.
I think
he's a character and he's good on track.
The way he looks kind of reminds me a little bit of Senna, just a teeny tiny bit. I don't know if anyone else can see that or if you can see that. Just a teeny tiny bit reminds me a little bit of Senna.
I can't say that I have. So, but
I think I've seen somebody else say it, so I don't think I'm on my own. Let us know if you think. If you think he does look a little bit like Senna. We can have them both side by side, or like face morph them. But yeah, no, so I really like him. I hope to see him back on the grid either next year or the year after. But I think, going back to my original point, it does definitely make the job more difficult for James, because especially if Alex beats Carlos, but you've had Colapinto beating Albon, it's interesting to say the least.
Yeah, I think we'll see him in a reserve role somewhere.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think we probably will see him on the grid based on his performance.
I think he'll probably end up doing like a support series probably as well. So not F2 or something like that. He'll go and do like Le Mans, like European Le Mans or something like that. Like he'll end up doing something.
Maybe he can do sim work for Haas.
Yeah. Maybe. But yeah, so those are the two standout performances. But I think the low light, very selfish low light for me, was Kevin Magnussen having a puncture and dropping out of the points. The K-Mag was smashing it all weekend long, and then he had a puncture. I feel really bad because he was above Nico as well.
He was, qualified Nico.
He was like P7, P6. Like I think if he'd have finished the race, he probably could have pulled off P7.
I think we could have maybe even seen double points finish.
I think double points would have been almost certain. If Nico was finishing 8th, I think it probably would have pushed Colapinto out, obviously. But a little bit of luck for Colapinto, a little bit of bad luck for Haas, and it changed things around. I did, however, so I follow, this just gives you a little bit of insight into Kevin. I follow Kevin's personal trainer on Instagram, and a bit of sightseeing, drivers usually want to go to like glitzy, glamoury places and stuff like that. They went to visit the place where JFK got shot.
Okay.
And I was just like, of all of the places you could go and visit, like in Austin or somewhere in America or whatever. I think it was like Friday or something like that. In the evening, they must have just disappeared. Or Thursday evening or something. I don't know. I just thought it was really random. I quite
like
it.
A story, and they take a picture.
Yeah, it was just an Instagram story, and it was just the guy
was shot here.
Literally, so it was Kevin walking towards some building, and it was just Nikolai, his trainer, took a photo of Kevin walking up, and you could clearly tell it was Kevin as well, just at the assassination point. It's just so odd, really, really odd. But yeah, gutted disappointed, for K-Mag to not finish in the points, because he was doing pretty well.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Should we jump up to the top of the grid and talk about Ferrari real quick?
Yeah, sure. Not much to add to that.
No, there's not too much to add. But I did the fuel leak or fuel issue or whatever it was from Carlos did get me a little bit excited for a minute there, because I was like, is he slowing down? Like, what's going on? Is Max going to catch him? Like, is Lando going to catch him? Like, what's going on? And then he just pulled away, and I was like,
yeah, and got the undercut on Max, which is good. So
yeah,
really,
Ferrari,
more issues.
We give Ferrari a lot of shit sometimes, but they absolutely smashed it this weekend. Absolutely smashed it.
And I think a lot of people externally wrote them off.
Yeah,
it'd be either Red Bull or Ferrari, even Mercedes. But I think internally, most teams are like, yeah, watch out for Ferrari.
Yeah, Zach said that was the team he was worried about the most, was Ferrari.
And he was right.
He was, yeah. Should we talk about Max and Lando now then?
Yeah, sure.
So Max obviously P3, kinda. Lando P4. Thoughts on the incident? You know what incident we're talking about. What are your thoughts? Because we've had explanations from everyone under the sun. We've had reasons why. We've had blah, 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 blah. What is your opinion on the decision in and of itself to give Lando a 5-second penalty?
Yeah, like I said, there's lots to it. Max kind of said it a few years back with guys that honestly they do a good job of killing racing. I think what annoyed everyone was that Max did it at the turn one. Where they both went off.
Yeah.
And then it happened again. And I was like, how can it be no penalty then and a penalty now? And I think it just highlighted just the stewards' kind of lack of effectiveness and direction, where like the rule is like you have to be ahead of the apex. What's to stop someone like Max? Like, I know, I'll just brake later. If we go off, it doesn't matter because I was ahead at the apex. So by the letter of the law, Lando should get the penalty, and that's what happened. And the annoying thing is they also have the spirit of the rules, which they didn't enforce. It was just inconsistency all around when you had Bottas and Russell. Yeah. And I think that's just what annoys people. It's just like the inconsistency. They're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, I think that, so between obviously the incidents where the person on the inside got the penalty versus this where the person on the outside got the penalty, I get the argument in terms of it's a different situation. They're similar, but they are different. But also, obviously, Lando gained a position by going off track, right?
The one thing
he was pushed off track by somebody who also went off track.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that annoys everyone, was that Max was also off the track.
So,
and it really... Please. No, we're just talking about Brazil 21.
Yeah. I remember that.
Like Lewis and Max went off the track and the race crew was like, no investigation necessary. This is, I think, what annoys everyone. It's like, everyone can see it, even without the telemetry, even without the extra camera angles that the FIA have. Everyone can see it, and yet they still make these decisions. And it doesn't make sense. And like, sorry, I interrupted you.
No. I think we're interrupting each other with arguably the same opinion. So I think that
and this is not like a Lando thing.
No.
If it was the other way around, I would blame Lando. If it was Fernando there, I'd say Fernando was in the wrong.
Here's my thing. So like you've given George and Bottas a 5-second time penalty for forcing another driver off of the track, right? Yeah. Why has Max not gotten a 5-second time penalty for forcing a driver off the track? That's my biggest point, is that it's not the first time Max has done this in terms of forcing another driver off the track. He's done it multiple times, but because he was ahead at the apex, for some reason it's all forgiven, and that just doesn't make any, like, to me, doesn't make any sense. Now, if the FIA had turned around and they'd gone, look, Lando's overtaken off the track, but Max has forced him off the track, they both should have 5-second time penalties. I'd have no problem whatsoever. Like, genuinely, I'd have no problem whatsoever. Or if they turn around and just said, racing incident, whatever, cool, that's fine. Or if they had been quicker about it and they'd just said, you need to give the position back, and then obviously racing could have continued, I also would have been fine with that. I would have been pissed off, but I would have been a hell of a lot more fine with it than this. Because it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense, especially when you look at the Turn 1 incident as well. I remember saying to Shari, he's pushed him off the track, he has to give the place back, and he just didn't. I know it was slightly different because Max was second at that point, and then Lando was fourth, so giving the place back would have there would have been some.
Was Lando ahead
stuff.
of the apex?
I genuinely don't know. I've got no idea.
I think he was.
I don't know, but it wasn't even noted. It wasn't even noted at all.
I know. I was waiting for something to come up, and they just hide behind that. Oh well, it's lap 1 kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I think Max is super smart. It's like, right, I know what the grey area is.
Yeah, but he did exactly the same in Vegas.
Yeah, I just play to that grey area.
But in Vegas, he got a penalty.
Yeah, but he knows that with this one, the steward's just like, they're not going to do anything.
It's very frustrating, and I think the general consensus is seemingly, and this is without looking at it with papaya-tinted glasses, is that it just was unfair.
Yeah, and it's not, like I said, this is not the first time.
No.
Stewards have been inconsistent.
And even Toto suggested that the stewards' inconsistency was a problem as well.
And even when you read the report, it's just, they just try and cover themselves. And it's just, let me see if I can find it and read it out. If you just want to
yeah, sure. There was something which I took a screenshot of earlier, and there's a conspiracy. There's a small conspiracy.
Do not attribute to malice what could be attributed to incompetence.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk about malice. So somebody, I don't know how true this is, so bear with me. Fun fact.
I saw this on Twitter.
No, this was on Instagram comments. Every single Max controversy, FIA race steward has been Derek, a Red Bull-sponsored race car driver and driver who is on record in 2016 on a podcast saying Max Verstappen is the great white hope.
Well,
so there's an allegation there.
Derek Warwick is his name because I've got the thing up here.
Yeah.
Well, that's just fucking.
So there's I don't know how true it is. I meant to research and dig into it. So if you want to dig into it a little bit now, we can. But it rings a bell. It rings a bell. Somebody also said that he owned a Honda dealership. Which I'm like, okay, cool flex, but I mean,
I think this is the other thing, and I don't know how many drivers want to be stewards, but if you look at them, right, none of them are like fairly recent-ish drivers.
Yeah, when I see Johnny Herbert on the list, I'm like, oh, fair.
Yeah, and like, are these drivers that are like, championship-winning drivers?
Yeah,
probably. Are these drivers that have recently driven a car? Are these drivers that, understand how these cars, they're not, kind of thing. So
I'm trying to find who the stewards were for
but anyway, I've got the report up for Lando, and the stewards reviewed positioning, marshalling system data, video, and in-car video evidence. Remember, we don't have this. Even if you've got F1 TV, we don't have marshalling and stuff like
that.
Car 4 was overtaking Car 1 on the outside, but was not level with Car 1 at the apex. This is where But this is where Max and let brake late. But right, that's what they said. He's not level at the apex. Therefore, under the driving standard guidelines, Car 4 had lost a right to the corner. Accordingly, as Car 4 left the track and returned in front of Car 1, it is deemed to be a case of leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. Okay? If you read that, that makes sense, right? A 5-second penalty is imposed instead of the 10-second penalty recommended in the guidelines because having committed to the overtaking move on the outside, the driver of car number 4 had little alternative other than to leave the track because of the proximity of Car 1, which had also left the track.
That's the key point. That is the key point.
So it's like, we've not given him a 10-second, we've given him a 5-second because Max has gone off track.
Yeah.
And they said, look, that doesn't count as a track limit strike. You can appeal if you want to.
Yeah.
So they even fucking say here, Max went off track as well.
Yeah.
But nah.
I am seeing there is seemingly evidence of Derek Warwick saying that Max Verstappen is the great white hope back in 2016 in a deleted podcast with the BBC. So I think there's definitely some potential favoritism going on there as well. Potentially, allegedly. But it's just, I just heard a cheeky little rumor that was going on. I don't know how true or untrue it is, but I'm just gonna report on it. But so I think that it's sort of what you said, like Max alluded to a couple of years ago. It killed a little bit of the racing for me.
Like I said, if they'd just said racing incident,
nobody would have cared.
And if Max had made the corner,
if Max had made the corner, I would have been like, yeah, fine, he's pushed him off the track. He stayed on the track, but
braking perfectly.
Yeah,
block Lando and make the corner, and it's just.
And for the record, I would be saying this if it was anyone else.
Yeah, if it was the other way around, I'd be like, Max got screwed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'd be like,
but isn't that almost so? Here's my other thing as well. Do you remember in Austria, the incident in Austria? Didn't Max push Lando wide there, and there was contact? So Lando has learned to give Max a bit more space because otherwise there will be contact. Yeah. So yeah, and again, it brings up the conversation about like, should there be a consistent steward all the way through and stuff like that, and blah 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 blah. I still think yes. If you're expecting every single driver to drive every single race, you should expect a steward at least to be at every single race over the entire year.
I think there should be a consistent steward team. There's a consistent race director.
Yeah, true.
There should be. I'm sure they can find a team to do that.
surely.
So,
but I think
and also don't they have this VAR system in Geneva as well? Don't they?
Yeah,
they've got additional controls, but yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what they look at, and I don't know what we look at.
Well, also there's nothing us complaining on a podcast is going to do about it either. But I think it's bullshit.
It's events therapy.
It just is bullshit. I don't agree with it. And again, if it was Lawson pushing,
I'm not buying Red Bull now because Derek Warwick.
Yeah, fuck you,
That's
Derek.
going to dent their sales.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It's just not good when you've got a championship fight on your hands, and admittedly,
fight. And we shouldn't be talking about the stewards poster race. We should talk about what a great race between Lando and Max.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it was a great battle.
Yeah,
up until that point, it was great.
Max was doing well to maintain that gap just enough so he could defend. And
because Max had also saved all of his battery because he knew he wasn't fighting the Ferraris.
So oh well.
Anyway, I still think
hopefully nothing will happen at Mexico.
Yeah, I mean, Lando's lost 3 points. He's 3 points down this weekend. So I think what's the gap in the? It's like 56, 57 points. No, he's not even 3 points down. He's even more because of the sprint race. So I think it's like a 56 point gap now, something like that. And I think it rings true to.
That would be hilarious. Charles Leclerc comes second.
Oh, honestly, yeah. I mean, at this point, who knows?
If Lando wins every race and every sprint race and every fastest lap and all that, and Charles is like, hello.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But no, I think I'll be honest. The championship title fight is gone. Like, it just is gone. There's no catching it. I don't think. I just don't. The hope is still there, but I am running on hopium and fumes right now. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen at all.
I think it's quite interesting that Red Bull could lose second in the constructors.
Yeah, that would be outrageous to have a driver win the championship and to finish third in the constructors. I can't remember the last time that actually happened.
They were looking at like 80s.
Something like that, yeah, which is wild. But so I can see, Lando's on 297 and Max is on 354, so there is a 57 point difference between 57 point difference between.
Unless Max has like 3 DNFs, it's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, if Max needs to have.
Do you know what happened? Max will have the 3 DNFs, and Charles will win this race.
Yeah, more than likely. I can't see it happening. I just can't. I mean, we have Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi. Like I said, Lando needs to win at least 3 of those to even be in with a shout of it. I don't see it happening at all. I mean, good luck to him, but I just don't see it happening. He needed to put down a marker to in the US Grand Prix.
All I'm hoping is that hopefully we'll have like a 3-way fight, maybe even 4-way fight next year.
Yeah, next year. Because I mean, and I was saying this to a friend, if Ferrari are cooking with that car for next year, and then you put Lewis Hamilton in that car, that's not bad. That sounds pretty tasty.
Yeah.
So, and you've got Oscar Piastri coming of age more as well. So,
did you see that Oscar had to give up like a second of his gap to Lando, so Lando could finish ahead of him?
No, I didn't.
There's a 4-second gap between him and Lando, and the team told him can you back off for a second so Lando won't come behind you with the penalty.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of fair to ask, to be honest with you. If you look at Piastri,
I'm pretty sure Piastri's mental checklist.
I think Piastri finished 21.9 seconds behind, and then George was 56 seconds.